Hello everybody, and welcome to part 2 of our Honda Accord review. Well, the moment is finally here. We can show you all the driving impressions of this all-new Honda Accord. There's going to be a lot to talk about here. I'm sure a lot you're anxiously awaiting with the hybrid system and the deletion of the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. So let's go ahead and hop into this and see how this all-new 2023 Honda Accord drives.
We're off to the races here with the touring all-new Honda Accord. Now, of course, as you've heard numerous times heading up to this point, the touring model, as well as most of the trim levels in the all-new Accords lineup, is going to be hybrid exclusive. So what you're going to get is Honda's new 4th generation 2-motor hybrid system. That's going to be combining a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 2 electric motors, as you would expect. And total system output here is 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque. Both of those are going to be up from the previous hybrid system that was offered on the Accord, especially the torque figure. I believe that's 15 pound-feet more. And that's honestly what you feel the most when you take off from a stop like we just did. You're going to feel that electric instant torque kind of kick in right off the line, push you back in your seat just a little bit, and then you're off to the races there, accelerating a very nice amount. Some of the people at this event, they were doing 0 to 60, I believe, 7.2 seconds. Yep. So, you know, that's very typical for this segment. Like Mason mentioned in the introduction, there is no longer a 2-liter turbo. So if you're kind of a power-hungry person, more of an enthusiast driver, you're probably going to be disappointed to hear that. This is your highest powered Honda Accord in the new generation, but it's not bad. You know, it is definitely typical for the class, and you're going to get back in exchange for your loss of power from the 2-liter a lot more fuel economy.
Yeah, of course. Now, like Drew has been talking about, we do have the hybrid version of this Accord. That is going to be the standard engine setup if you choose at least the sport trim level or higher. So that does mean the base 2 trim levels of the Accord do have another powertrain. That's going to be the 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 192 horsepower. It's pretty much the same setup as what we've seen on the previous generation Accord, although Honda says they made it a little bit more refined for this all-new model. But definitely, I'd say we would recommend getting this hybrid setup because it is on the majority of trim levels on this Accord, and you're going to benefit in the fuel economy, but also the power is pretty significantly more, and the torque figure for sure.
Right. More power, better fuel economy. That's kind of a win-win, right? Brakes nice and strong.
Yep. Nice, that was past 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, we're obviously going downhill, but you know, like I said, pretty decent fuel economy, pretty decent acceleration, getting up to speed there. I did click into the sport mode. You might have actually been able to hear the difference. That's because when you click into sport mode, you get kind of a enhanced exhaust sound that's coming through the speakers. Sounds a little strange to me, but if that's your jam, you can turn that on and have a little bit of, I think it almost sounds a little Type R-esque.
You're a Accord Type R.
In a fake kind of way. Now, speaking of other aspect of the powertrain, with the hybrid system, you have basically an e-CVT. It's not really a CVT, but your overall performance, or what you should expect to feel, is CVT-like.
Yep.
I mean that in the sense that you do have, you know, kind of a seamless power delivery, right? But we do have shift simulation versus the previous generation of Honda's hybrid system. that's going to make it feel, or at least sound, more traditional, because you have those simulated shifts as you go through the RPM, especially as you put your foot down hard on the accelerator.
Yeah, and if you do opt for one of those lower 2 trim levels, that does mean you're actually going to have a traditional CVT with a 1.5 liter models.
And that one does also have the new shift simulation this year.
Yes, and one thing worth pointing out is it is going to be front-wheel drive exclusive for this all-new Accord. No all-wheel drive option, which is something I'm a little disappointed in for this new model. I felt like maybe Honda could have added that.
Definitely most of the rivals have that at this point.
Yeah, Subaru for sure, and the Legacy is standard, and then the Camry has all-wheel drive as well. Altima, yeah. So that's an area that, you know, if that matters to you, not going to be offered on the Accord. But now that we're cruising along the highway, I do want to talk about your ride quality. We are in the touring level Accord, so this is going to be the smoothest riding version of this model, and I have to say I'm very impressed by the ride quality. I don't see a massive difference between, we actually drove the Sport this morning. I think the ride quality is roughly similar in this Accord. I don't know if they've really tuned it too differently.
I don't think they changed anything.
I feel like it is pretty much identical, but that's certainly not a bad thing because it soaks up the bumps really well. The seats are really comfortable. We've already been driving it for nearly 2 hours today, and I'm completely not tired at all. So
yeah, and I do want to point out the previous generation at the touring trim level did offer adaptive dampers. This new generation doesn't offer that, but I don't think that really made a humongous difference in the previous generation. So you're not really going to notice, I don't think, a big degrade of ride quality in that sense. It still feels very comfortable in here. And it's nicely balanced between, I think, kind of having nice driving dynamics and having a smooth ride.
Yeah. And let's get our sound level reading going 55. Looks like our official reading is going to be sitting at 62.4 decibels for this Accord. I said it in, you know, previous videos and such. When we're on these media drives, we do have to drive it where we are geographically located. We're here in California. The road surface is going to be a lot rougher than back home in Kentucky. We look forward to fully testing it out, getting that official Car Confections sound level reading back home. But 62.4 does land this on the upper end of the segment in terms of the noise entering into the cabin. And I do think a lot of that has to do with the road surfacing, though.
For sure. We did also test out a Sport model, and pretty much the same number, so yes. It doesn't appear that the Touring is any more sound insulated than the Sport trim level.
But guys, we have been alluding to it throughout this entire review. The reason they've moved away from that 2-liter turbo powertrain and to the hybrid is for your fuel economy, and you certainly will stand to benefit over the previous 2 liters fuel economy here. So we're sitting at 46 city, 41 highway, 44 miles a gallon combined with this hybrid setup on most of the trim levels. If you go for the EXL trim level, you do get better combined rating of 48 miles a gallon combined because of the smaller wheels and such, but very impressive fuel economy any way you cut it. It's going to be about 12 mpg better than the standard 1.5 liter motor, and you're getting more power too. So I think that's pretty much a no-brainer in terms of what I'm thinking.
Now, they're going to speak a little bit about the transitions between the EV and the gas engine. Very, very smooth. You really can't feel it. You honestly can't hear it. I think the engine is kind of tuned out. You don't really hear it when it fires up in the background too much. It's nice and quiet. And, you know, for instance, we've been driving for quite a while with the engine off, even at speed, because we're going to going downhill. And, you know, overall, really, really nice and smooth. The hybrid systems have made like huge leaps forward in the last decade, and this is one of the best ones. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say it's quieter than the Toyota Camry hybrid. But we're kind of getting into some curves here, so I'm going to flip it back into sport mode here. And let's talk about driving dynamics. Now, of course, one of the things that Honda really has always been good at doing is baking in some good driving dynamics into the Accord, even though it is still family focused and comfortable. So let's put that to the test here.
It's a beautiful canyon road for it.
Yeah, for sure. So let's round some corners. Yeah, nice body control. I'm really liking that. We're going around this corner here, we really have very little body roll whatsoever. Yeah, that's really nice. And of course, this is the touring trim level, like Mason said. So, you know, at the top end, it's certainly not like, you know, more luxurious or more sloppy, as you might say, compared to like the sport trim level. It's nice and controlled. I like the steering as well. When you go into the sport mode, it gets a little bit firmer, but in all the trim levels, one of the things I really noticed about the Accord is that you don't have like a big dead spot or just like so light and loose that you have no feeling. Many of the rivals are like that. This Accord, you really have a good sense of where you have placed the wheels on the road. I feel very confident out here on this canyon road. As soon as I turn it, I get that immediate response. You know, all in all, especially as you know, the segment is kind of consolidating, right? This is definitely one of your best handling options for sure. Maybe even the best one. You know, there actually is no longer a Mazda 6.
Yeah.
So
this might be.
Honestly, I think this might be the best handling midsize sedan right now.
And lastly here, I do want to talk about your warranty for this all-new Honda Accord. 3-year, 36,000 miles for your basic warranty. You're also going to be looking at 5-year, 60,000 miles for your powertrain, 2 years of complimentary maintenance, and 25,000 miles for the 2023 Accord. So that's a nice new feature that Honda's rolling out to all their 2023 models. That saves you a little bit of money and makes it in line with something like a Toyota Camry.
But anyways, guys, that's where we're going to end this Part 2 full in-depth test drive of the all-new 2023 Honda Accord. Of course, as you've seen, you know, throughout this drive, this is a very impressive product. You know, the previous generation was very strong, and Honda has made some, you know, key improvements with a lot of different characteristics, especially when you take into account that hybrid system where you're getting, you know, more power, even better fuel economy, and continuing that, you know, kind of Honda legacy of keeping some nice driving dynamics so that you can have that nice everyday comfortable family car, but you can come out on a country road like this that 5% of the time where your kids and wife aren't in the car with you, you can come out on a country road and really have a good time.
Yeah, and if you want to know all the details about this Honda Accord, interior, exterior, all of that, you can find that in our part 1 of our review of this model. So go ahead and go to the channel, find that video. And if you haven't subscribed already, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It helps us out. It helps us get invited to events like this where we can show you all the newest cars first. So go ahead and do that. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.